playing half of the season last year, kind of get into a groove that, we felt like we got into, playing high-level football in the back end of the season. So going into the offseason, man, it was easy for me to just continue to work to improve on what we had obviously accomplished at the end of the season. So now, man, this camp has been great.
The Cardinals are about to start the season off in Buffalo, and I don't know about you, but to me, this seems like one of the most anticipated seasons for the Cardinals in recent memory. And the great thing about this team is that they are getting zero respect from the media. I don't think people truly realize how good Kyler Murray can be when healthy. And with a true wide receiver 1 and generational talent in Marvin Harrison Jr. to throw to, I view the Cardinals as a fringe playoff contender just off that. And this team has so much more young and upcoming talent outside of them that just isn't being talked about enough. If you watch ESPN or any talk shows, you would think the Cardinals are gearing up for a 4 or 5 win season. I can assure you, outside of any catastrophic injuries, that won't be the case, and I'm going to talk about why. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are now on the road to 40k subscribers, and with your support, I believe we can get there super fast. Alright, so we are now entering the third and final preseason game of 2024, and we still have yet to see Kyler Murray take the field. Some people are making a big deal of it, but others think Kyler will be just fine. My personal view is that getting preseason reps can definitely help you get that feel for in-game flow, but I don't think sitting out really has much of an effect at all on a player, especially ones with years of experience under their belts. I think some guys are starting to define their roles, Jonathan Gannon said. That's the point of letting all the reps go to the guys who still need to define their roles. The starters are itching to show what they have, and that's still weeks away. And it was a rough night for rookie tackle Christian Jones, who was flagged 4 times for holding. The final one was declined, but the first 3 were all accepted and were on 3 consecutive plays. The first turned a Trey Benson 20-yard run down to the goal line to dust. Rookies will have tough days, but he'll have things to work on, even if there were borderline calls. I thought Jones reset at halftime and did a good job in the second half, Gannon said. I was enthused with what he did in the second half. I was proud of him. The Cardinals had 11 penalties, far more than Gannon would have liked. The game ended on a penalty too, with a false start with 5 seconds left and the Cards trying to spike the ball to stop the clock, forcing a runoff of the previous few seconds remaining. Anyways, moving on from the actual games themselves, let's talk about some of the individual players and whatever else comes to mind. So the approach from the front office with this team seems to be slow and steady. Some fans can't stand it, but I think the wait is gonna pay off. I will say though, the Cardinals in the future do not need to get any younger than they already are. They have the prospects, they have the talent, and next year, they will have about $90 million to spend in the offseason. So as a fan, if you're looking at the future of this team, you should feel pretty excited. But the front office still has to execute. The way I look at this team is like the 2018 Cleveland Browns. They were so bad the previous years before, but that was the season when things started to turn around. They didn't make the playoffs, but they competed and they were an exciting team to watch. I think the Cardinals are going to be very similar, but better. I think this rebuild is exactly what the team needed to pivot away from the dysfunctionality they had over the last few years. Is it going to work? We have no idea, but building your team around Marvin Harrison Jr. is definitely a great start. And the Cardinals are now in a spot that they have never seen themselves in before. The possibilities are literally endless. It just feels different. But it definitely is hard to sell the fans on that slow and steady approach when the Cardinals have not been relevant since late into the 2021 season. We've seen so many teams take this approach though. I mean, just look at the Texans. They went through the losing seasons, they got their QB, then they started to build up the receiving core, and now they are all in with the Diggs trade. Look for the Cardinals to follow a similar path. Anyways, let's now look at the roster, because on paper, the team is really coming together. I've already talked a lot about Kyler in a lot of previous videos, but I'll say it again. I think everyone is forgetting what he did just a few years ago. He put up some of the best numbers of all QBs in the league. Here's what some of the media has to say about Murray.
Hey, Kyler Murray, tough year last year. We know that. He was coming back from ACL injury, right? Not totally himself. And then within that, he gets thrusted into, wait, it's my first time in a new offense with this new coach, new head coach, new play caller, all of that. And I'm in the middle of the season and kind of trying to get my feet wet again here, and everybody else is greased up and, full season mode, right? But with Kyler Murray, I mean, I'm not going to break any news here to you, and I don't think I'm going to break news to anybody that's been listening to me talk about Kyler Murray altogether. I mean, incredible talent. Incredible.
In terms of the receivers he will be throwing the ball to, it's Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Zay Jones, and Chris Moore, and then Trey McBride over at tight end. I expect this receiving group to be around middle of the pack by the time the season is all said and done. And Marvin Harrison could put up rookie numbers that we have never seen before with the amount of targets he may get. Now switching over to the defensive side of things, some analysts analysts have said that the Cardinals have the most improved defense after the draft. They walked out of the draft with 12 total selections, and to no surprise, Monty Ossenfort opted to supplement much needed help at the defensive line and cornerback positions. Here are the additions to the secondary: Max Melton, Elijah Jones, DTD, and Jaden Davis. Melton will look to claim one of the starting spots on the outside, with Sean Murphy-Bunting also in the mix after signing in free agency. While the Cardinals drafted cornerbacks Cottrell Clark and Garrett Williams last year, drafting Elijah Jones this year gives them much needed flexibility and a good depth investment in case they want to play more press coverage. As for their safeties, they still have Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson, but Baker requested a trade last offseason in a contract leverage move and is still playing on the last year of his deal entering 2024, so he might not be there for the long haul. Taylor Demerson will likely be a rotational player in 2024, but he could see a starting spot open up in 25. Although AZ didn't make many defensive line additions in the draft, the players they did select can be impactful. Robinson was a reach on my board for where Arizona selected him, but I like the fit a lot. Jonathan Gannon's multiple front defense can truly maximize what Robinson does best as a player who started at both defensive tackle and edge throughout his college career. He can give interior players fits with his length and really push tackles back with his power. Thomas was a former number 3 overall recruit and 5-star player coming out of high school. Injuries and some bad luck with timing kept him in college longer than intended, but he is a very good athlete with a ton of explosiveness and a pass rush style that never quits. Both these players could contribute right away on a defensive line that really needs it. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how things unfold. The Cardinals are headed on the right track, but how fast will they become a contender is the real question. If they show the potential this year, and then over the offseason bring in a couple of key free agents, things are going to get real. And the Cards have a really tough start to this season. They open up on the road in Buffalo. We all know how tough of a place that stadium is, and even though the Bills have regressed, I just don't see the Cardinals winning this game unless a miracle happens. And then in week 2, they play the Rams, who I expect to have a bounce back year, and then the Lions after that. I think AZ needs to find a way to just win one of those games, and then from there, if they can go 500 the rest of the season, they will find themselves in the playoff race. In my previous video about this team, my record prediction was 8-9, but let me know what you guys think. That's really all I have to say for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe because your support truly does mean the world. And also, let me know what you would like to see next. And until then, I will see you all later.